Hey guys, welcome to Diabetic 365 to the new episode. This episode is kind of an educative session with Constance Brown-Riggs. She's a diabetic educator and she's going to discuss, is rice good? So many diabetic people have this basic question all the time that's floating around. So is rice good, or if it is good, in how much quantity should it be taken, all this stuff. So she's going to discuss today with us on rice. So hey Constance, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very good today.
Thank you so much for accepting my request and responding to it in a very short time. So today let's go through this. Is rice good? Why is it shown as a bad guy all the time? Rice or bread, all the time they're shown as a bad guys. And also there is a misconception regarding rice that's many people have when they have diabetes. So before labeling it whether it's good or bad, basic question here is, what does rice actually contain?
Actually, it is a grain. And if it's white rice, it's what we consider refined grain, which means it has very little fiber in it. I think the biggest problem that most people have with rice really is quantity. That's the biggest problem. We talk about more of brown rice, which has more of the fiber in it, but even high fiber foods need to be portioned. Portion control is really key.
So here, when it comes to rice, there are different types of rice. As you said, white rice, brown rice, there is short grain rice, which is used in sushi. There is also a wild rice, and there is a different kind of grain, which is called barley. So let's talk about rice, like which one is good? White rice, here wild rice, brown rice, or the short grain rice. So which one is best for diabetes? And let's differentiate. What is the basic difference with all these 3 or 4 kinds of basic rice that we find in our Walmart or in super centers or in our shopping mart?
Okay. Basically, and I kind of jumbled up the answer to your first question, but if we look at the types of rice, white rice is probably the rice that most people are familiar with, and also the rice that actually is refined. And through that refining process, you're getting rid of a lot of the B vitamins, you're getting rid of the fiber that goes along with that. So you're left with mostly just pure carbohydrate, if you will, and not a lot of the vitamins and minerals. And that's why, of course, they have to enrich it to add back in what they've taken out.
Oh, okay.
The brown rice is a whole grain. That fits into the category of whole grain. That has the fiber still in it. And that's what makes that a better rice. We know in terms of diabetes in particular, foods that have a lot of fiber tend to work better in terms of modulating glucose control. So this is why we recommend using high fiber foods and whole grains, which again, your brown rice fits into that whole grain category. Now we also can look at, I think you mentioned short grain versus long grain rice or converted rice. Your long grain rice actually is going to work a little better in the system than the short grain rice. It's going to be similar to the brown rice. And part of that is just by nature of its description. It's long grain, and that gives you the idea that it's going to take longer. Your body has to work a little bit harder to digest that long grain rice. And your wild rice is also very similar to brown rice in terms of its activity in the body, having more fiber content to it. So that's the major difference. But as I said from the beginning, I really think for people with diabetes, the biggest thing is portion control. So even if it's brown rice, you can't eat 2 tons of brown rice at one time. You're still going to ultimately get a lot of carbohydrate, and it is the total amount of carbohydrate that you're eating at one meal that is going to control how high your blood sugar level goes after eating that rice. So yes, brown rice, absolutely. That is the best type of rice. Long grain rice, wild rice, is also very good, but we still have to remember portion control.
Portion control.
Yeah.
So to sum up your differences, and brown rice basically is not that processed as white rice. So basically it has that rice bran on top of it, which has more fiber in it, and it also has very rich vitamin E and also endosperm part, which makes it, when we take into our system, it makes us to digest very slowly and release the energy for a longer run, so that you don't have ups and downs or spikes. So is that the main reason why brown rice is good than the processed white rice?
Yes, you summed that up nicely.
Okay.
Yes, that's really it.
Okay. So, and also wild rice is good. It's not that processed up. And also between white rice and also between the short rice and the long grain rice, long grain is much better because it takes more time for your body to digest and release the energy. So it has constant, the energy is constant, and you don't have spikes up and down. So thank you so much on that information. And also the next question, now we know that what actually rice contains and which kind of rice should be taken. And now tell us how much portion of rice has to be taken by a diabetic, and also how many times a week can it be taken? Okay.
The amount really depends on the individual, because with most individuals we're looking at carbohydrate counting, and we know that varies from person to person. But in terms of a single serving, 1/3 cup of rice has 15 grams of carbohydrate. So that's how it would factor into one's meal plan. For an example, the average woman may be able to consume about 45 grams of carbohydrate. I'm just saying average because, of course, it's based on the individual. But in average, about 45 grams of carbohydrate. That would be a cup of rice. That would take up that 45 grams of carbohydrate. The frequency really doesn't matter. It goes back to the portion. It kind of reminds me of patients often coming into the office, and they'll say, well, I only have pasta because, pasta is the big thing. So they'll say, I have pasta once weekly. And my response to them is, it doesn't matter how often, it's how much you eat whenever you eat it, because it's that individual meal that determines how high your blood sugar goes at that point in time. So the same thing for rice. It's not the frequency, it's the quantity when you're eating it.
Okay. To sum it up, hey guys, everyone listening to the show, it's the amount, the quantity that should be controlled and not the frequency. So thank you so much, Constance, for telling us, is rice good or bad? And because every time rice is termed as a bad guy. So thank you so much for sharing the thoughts, and thank you so much. Have a nice day.